وكذلك أوحينا إليك روحا من أمرنا ما كنت تدري ما الكتاب ولا الإيمان ولكن جعلناه نورا نهدي به من نشاء من عبادنا وإنك لتهدي إلى صراط مستقيم صراط الله الذي له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض ألا إلى الله تصير الأمور.
Remember, just remember, Allah sees it all.
Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalam ala Rasulillah. All praise is due to Allah, and may Allah's peace and blessings be on the last messenger of Allah. We welcome you back, dear viewers, to another in our series, In the Names of Allah. In our previous episodes, we have covered the first three names that we'll be covering in this series. Allah, the greatest name of Allah. Then Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim, we looked at them together because of their shared quality, the shared origin of those names being Rahmah, or the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we looked at those attributes. In the case of Allah, we looked at how we could call on Allah by it. As Allah had said in the Quran, وَلِلَّهِ الْأَسْمَاءُ الْحُسْنَى فَادْعُوهُ بِهَا. All the beautiful names belong to Allah. So call on Him with them. Worship Him through them. So in the case of Allah, we looked at how the name Allah was used by the Prophet, may God's peace and blessing be upon him, in the Sunnah, in a variety of different circumstances. From the day-to-day prayers and supplications we made before the ordinary things that we do in a day. Whether we're leaving the house, whether we're sitting down for a meal, going to the bathroom, going to our wives, husbands and wives, all the various activities of the day, there were a variety of different supplications which the Prophet, may God's peace and blessing be upon him, prescribed, beginning with Bismillah. We take that name of Allah and we put it with Bismi, in the name of Allah. And also Allahumma, O Allah, calling on Allah by His greatest name. We looked at a variety of different prayers which the Prophet ﷺ gave us. From going to sleep at night, getting up in the mornings and the evenings. We also looked at general du'as which the Prophet ﷺ made, seeking refuge from evil characteristics. And we began those du'as, all of them, with Allahumma. And we even looked at how to exercise, to remove evil spirits from human beings who may be possessed. And we talked about that at some length. And the du'as which are recommended by the Prophet ﷺ, beginning with Bismillah. And we looked also at the attribute of Rahmah in the next set of episodes, and how that should be practiced by a Muslim, how he should understand the vastness of Allah's mercy. And then we looked at how it should be reflected in his life, how he should show mercy to others. As the Prophet ﷺ had said, Man la yarham la yurham. Whoever does not show mercy will not be shown mercy. We are now moving on to the next major attribute. And this is actually a combination of three attributes, or three names of Allah. And that is Al-Malik, Al-Malik, and Al-Malik. Al-Malik translated as the sovereign Lord, Al-Malik, the owner, and Al-Malik, the king. So these are attributes number 4, 5, and 6. In terms of where they're located in the Quran, and that's what we look at first, we didn't look at that in the case of Allah because it's mentioned so many times in the Quran it's, the number is huge. We said it was some 2,602 times. So that's, you can hardly find a page of the Quran where it's not present. Whereas Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim, we looked at how many times they were used, and they were fairly frequently. Ar-Rahim was 114 times, Ar-Rahman 57 times. Now we're coming down to the names less frequently used. Al-Malik is mentioned 5 times in the Quran. Among those times, that mentioned in Surah Taha, verse 114, فَتَعَالَى اللَّهُ الْمَلِكُ الْحَقِّ. High exalted above all is Allah, the sovereign Lord, the truth. In the case of Al-Malik, it is mentioned only twice in the Quran. In Surah Al-Fatiha, we know Maliki Yawmiddin, and also in Surah Ali Imran, where Allah says, قُلِ اللَّهُمَّ مَالِكَ الْمُلْكِ. Say, O Allah, owner of the dominion. And in the case of Malik, we can find it mentioned only once in the Quran. إِنَّ الْمُتَّقِينَ فِي جَنَّاتٍ وَنَهَرٍ فِي مَقْعَدِ صِدْقٍ عِنْدَ مَلِيكٍ مُقْتَدِرٍ. Indeed, the pious will live among gardens and rivers firmly established in the favor of the king. That's Surah Al-Qamar, verses 54-55. Only one time. Now, the origin of these names of Allah, Malik, and Malik, is from mulk. Mulk, milk, or malk. All of these are roots. All of them refer to something in possession of others. When this thing is in possession, the person has the ability to dominate it, to keep it for himself, and not allow others even to use it. That is the basic meaning of mulk, malk, and milk, from which the names Malik, Malik, and Al-Malik came. Relative to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if we say that Malik, the sovereign Lord, is one able to execute his command in his dominion, as opposed to Malik, who may possess something but may not be able to enforce his commands in it. This is a basic difference in the language. This difference is not applicable to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Malik, one who owns a realm, he has dominion over some area or some place. Whatever he commands, whatever he wishes done is done. Whereas the Malik, one who owns, he may not be able to exercise his will in it. He might be a child, or he might be somebody insane, he doesn't have his mind. So people are looking after the place for him. But he is the actual owner. So that distinction exists in the linguistic use of the word. But when it comes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is not applicable. In the case of Malik and Malik, we can say that Malik is the more general term, Malik is a more specific term. But in terms of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we have to say that Malik is the personal description of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whereas Malik describes his act. Just as Rahman, Ar-Rahman, was the personal description of Allah, and Ar-Rahim was the description of his act of being mercy. Similarly, Malik is considered to be the description of Allah as a personal description, whereas Malik refers to his act of possessing and of owning. As Allah said in Surah Ashura, verse 49, لِلَّهِ مُلْكُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ يَخْلُقُ مَا يَشَاءُ. So Allah speaks of the dominion over the heavens and the earth belong only to Allah, who creates whatever He wishes. So relative to Allah in terms of dominion, He not only owns it, but He is free to do in it as He wills. None can stop Him. His will is enforced, whether as Malik, whether as Malik, or as Malik. In all of these names, all of these, the nuances that exist linguistically don't affect the reality with regards to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, where the whole dominion is His. He possesses everything that He has created. And nothing takes place in His dominion which is against His will, which He does not permit. And this is an important point because people have misunderstood where evil may take place in Allah's dominion, and we question, is this from Allah's will? Is that what He wanted? Well, if He didn't have control over it, and it was from the will of Satan, then His dominion would be incomplete. It would not, the perfection of His dominion would not be there. Whereas when we consider Allah with regards to dominion over His creation, it is complete. So absolutely nothing takes place which is against His will. But when we say will here, what we mean is His creational will. His creational will, as distinct from His legal will. These are two aspects of His will. One aspect, the legal will, this is what He wants us to do, that He has told us to do. Through the Quran, through the Sunnah, through the prophets that were sent, we're told, do this, don't do this. The correct way has been shown to us, how we should live in accordance with the guidance and the pleasure of God. That has been explained. And that we call His legal will. But He has given us the ability to either follow those instructions or not. We have, on one hand, the ability to choose. He's given us that ability. They call it free will. It's not absolutely free, but it's free will to a certain degree. We can choose what we want to do, choose to obey or to disobey. So we may disobey His legal will. However, we cannot go beyond His creational will. Meaning, even if we choose to disobey His legal will, only if He permits us are we able to disobey His creational will. With that thought, we're going to take a break. And we'll be coming back after the break to look a little more deeply into this concept and to finish looking at this attribute of Allah, Al-Malik, Al-Malik, and Al-Malik. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
When you are weak and the road seems long, remember, just remember, seek strength from the strong.
Welcome to this new episode of Focus Point.
The new generation has the habit of reading more than before.
Jewish question was named basically the problem of Jews who lost their function in society.
When you are weak and the road seems long, remember, just remember, seek strength from the strong.
Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah. All praise is due to Allah, and may Allah's peace and blessings be on the last messenger of Allah. Welcome back, dear viewers, to our program, In the Names of Allah. We just came back from the break, where we were discussing, prior to the break, the concept of Allah's dominion. over his creatures. That dominion has a complete and irresistible control. The controller being Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as the Malik. As the Malik and the Malik. Nothing takes place against his will, meaning his creational will, meaning that if a thing is to happen, if he doesn't permit it to happen, it cannot happen. We might choose to disobey his legal will, what he has told us to do or not to do. We can choose to do that. But even after we've made the choice, can we guarantee that we can implement that choice? We can implement the disobedience? How many times have we chosen to do something and it didn't happen? So obviously, the control of the outcome of our choices, we don't have. We make a choice and we try to implement it. But only if Allah permits it to take place, it will take place. So He is the Malik. Only if He permits it to take place. We are held accountable for the choices that we make. And added to it, if Allah permits us to implement those choices, we are also held accountable for the consequence of our choice. But in the end, it is still Allah who either permits us to fulfill it or not. So that's why we said, relative to these three names of Allah, all of them come together in the concept of Allah's possession of His whole creation. It's all in His dominion. And that His will is enforced in it. Nothing can go against His will. As to the question that people ask, if Allah is all-powerful and nothing goes against His will, so where does evil come from? If we say that His will was to allow evil, then we're saying in a sense that He's an evil God? Is that what you mean by that? The question may be asked. Of course not. The reality is that nothing in Allah's creation is 100% evil. If Allah has permitted it, He has permitted it not because of the evil that we perceive, but because of certain good which will come from it. Good which we might see or we may not see. We have how many times in our lives experienced things where we said, oh, what a terrible circumstance. Why did that have to happen? And then we see from it certain good. We say, oh, alhamdulillah, if it wasn't for that terrible circumstance, this other thing wouldn't have happened. We've seen it so many times. So that's the reality. If Allah has permitted it to happen, there is some good behind it which He has permitted it for. That's the bottom line. So Allah is not evil, He is good. So if He permits something to happen, He does it for the good that He has permitted, not for the thing itself. And a simple example, when we go to the dentist, we go there and we suffer. We have injections, there's drilling, there's pain, all of this that we go through. Do we go through because we like pain? No, we don't do it. We don't go to the dentist and suffer at his hands because we enjoy pain. At least most of us don't. We go there because in the suffering that we go through, we are preventing a greater suffering. If we don't remove that cavity or remove that bad tooth, then we will suffer even more later on. So we suffer a certain amount of harm to prevent a greater harm. Now, we can see that. But for example, you take a child. Take that child to the dentist. First time he's ever been to the dentist, oh, he's very happy. You tell him the dentist is a nice person, wears this big long white coat, he's going to give you candy, and he goes there, dentist gives him candy, he likes it. But then once the dentist puts that needle in his gum, puts the drill in his tooth, pain. Hey, he hates the dentist after that. He doesn't want to come back to the dentist. no matter how much you try to explain to that child that the dentist, the pain that the dentist is giving you, the suffering that you're going through, this is to prevent a greater, he can't see the greater suffering. He can't see what a bad tooth is going to do to him. So all he can see is the dentist causing him pain. He can't see beyond it. So as the child is unable to see the good that is behind it, similarly, in certain incidences in our lives, we can't see the good. So we think this is all evil, but in reality, nothing takes place in our lives that is 100% evil. Except if we look at it from the perspective of ourselves, we may make an evil intent to do an evil deed and go and do that evil deed. We can say, okay, that's 100% evil. That's coming from us. We can be evil people. But from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah is good. So whatever He has permitted, ultimately, there is good to come from it. So since He is the one who is the ultimate ruler, the ruler of all rulers, then it is not surprising to find that, as the Prophet ﷺ had said, the most detestable name in the sight of Allah is the man who calls himself Malikul Amlak, or Shahanshah. This is a forbidden name. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ informed us of this. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the owner of the Day of Judgment. His rule on the last day is complete. He is the sovereign. His dominion is ultimate. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ had related that on the last day Allah will gather the people and call them in a voice which will be heard by those far away and those near, saying, I am the king, I am the judge. Ana al-Malik, Ana ad-Dayyan. And it is from Allah's mercy that He is the ruler on that day. Because by Him being the ruler, we can be sure of absolute fairness and justice. If anybody else, other human beings were involved, then there is a great chance that injustice will take place. Now, relative to the effect of these divine names, first and foremost, belief that true possession and ownership of anything in this world is a result of Allah giving us possession of it. This should give us a sense of responsibility, that this is not really ours. We should feel that we have been given something for a limited period of time. Whatever we have in this world, it has been given to us by Allah. And we are to utilize it in the way which is pleasing to Him. We have a responsibility. So whatever we have is not an issue for us to be proud and puffed up about. It's for us to take note that we have responsibility in it. Furthermore, Prophet Muhammad ﷺ had advised us, انظروا إلى من أسفل منكم ولا تنظروا إلى من هو فوقكم فهو أجدر أن لا تزدروا نعمة الله عليكم. Look to those less fortunate than you, and do not look to those above you. It is better for you in order that you do not deny what Allah has blessed you with. So it's all coming from Allah. Allah chooses to give some more than others. This is a part of the test of this life. And we have to know that it is His dominion. He can pick and He can choose who He gives it to. But know that whatever He gives, there's a responsibility with it. So if you have less, it means you have less responsibilities. If you have more, it means you have more responsibilities. Also, belief that the absolute rule belongs only to Allah also means that we shouldn't do anything which is displeasing to Him. If any other ruler in this world calls us to do something which is displeasing to Allah, then there is no obedience due to that ruler. As the Prophet ﷺ had said, لا طاعة لمخلوق في معصية الخالق. No obedience is due to the creatures if it involves disobedience to the Creator. So absolute obedience belongs only to Allah. Our obedience to others is subsequent or secondary to our obedience to Allah. We have to consider, is this going to conflict with Allah's command or not? If it is not conflicting, then those who are in authority over us, we should obey them. This is the basic principle which governs our lives. With regards to dominion, with regards to understanding Allah's attribute of being Al-Malik, Al-Malik, and Al-Malik. The dominion over this world belongs completely to Allah. Whatever we have in it is what He has given us. We die and we leave it behind. We can't take it with us. So really it has only been put in our possession for a limited period of time. And we are judged as to how we use it. When we think of Al-Malik, that's what we should think about. What is in this world? Who does it really belong to? I'm calling it mine. It's my car. It's my house. It's my this and it's my that. But in reality, is it really mine? This is what, in thinking about and reflecting on and in remembering Allah through this name, Al-Malik, Al-Malik, and Al-Malik, we should be aware of. The dominion belongs ultimately only to Allah. And we should serve Him in it. Whatever He has given us is a test. And we are obliged to obey His instructions over the instructions of all else. With that, dear viewers, we'd like to thank you for being with us in this segment of our program, In the Names of Allah, in which we have looked at the 4th, 5th, and 6th attributes under the names of Allah, Al-Malik, Al-Malik, and Al-Malik. And we hope, inshallah, that you will be with us in our coming episodes. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
When you are weak and the road seems long, remember, just remember, seek strength from the strong.